welcome to the Phantom Zone podcast. I'm the actual Hunter Davenport, not to be confused with that other guy who around his a little bit. That's an inside joke, ladies and gentlemen. Who do I have with me?
Arlen Aro, signing on.
Eric Fedorchak.
And
Alan Muir. I used to be a general, but now I run a place called Empire Today.
now,
Keep them coming.
stop this. Stop it.
It's just going to become deeper and deeper into the infomercials as time goes on.
I was going to turn into Billy Mays.
You're going to turn into Billy Mitchell eventually.
Spreading hot fire, Alan.
No.
Hot fire.
Uh,
All right. Yeah. This is gonna be fun. I can already tell.
Yeah, here it goes. Here we go.
All
So,
right.
Jessica Jones.
This recording is never airing. We're not. We haven't even started, and I'm canceling it. There's
off to a bang up start, gentlemen.
Go.
Oh, this is a good episode. This is a good one.
All right.
I
So
can tell.
Jessica Jones episodes 5 through 8, possibly an episode 9 as well.
Yes, depending on how we're feeling.
Yep.
So, do you guys like Octopus too?
What?
Just since I wasn't on the prior episode, I've been really, really liking this season so much more than the last.
Good.
Yeah.
Like they've hit their stride and figured out exactly what they want to do with her character and the show.
It took
And-
a turn I was not really expecting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They went,
In
they went
episode
with
7?
a noir detective, or they went with a noir feel to it.
Well, they
It's good.
leaned into it. They leaned into that, which was, it was there in the first season, but it would go away. Yeah, definitely.
Or,
I
as
think that's why I
Arlen,
lost momentum.
or Arlen, as you said in part 1, they were like making fun of it.
Yeah, they would be a little bit too jokey about what they were going for, which just, it highlights the problems with what you're doing if you can't even, like, commit to it, I guess. So, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's something I've actually enjoyed watching all the episodes so far. Like, unlike the first season, which I just got so bored with, and
Yeah.
I feel like them not showing her using her powers in the way they were in the first season, which was apparently just to throw people against walls, is such a better choice. Like,
What things?
well, they show her like stopping cars, and like I mean they showed that a little bit, or like even in the, I guess it was the I want to say 7th episode, when they had the flashback to Trish and her being younger, when she like rips open the ATM, or when she pulls open the security gate on the front of that glass store to get the coat that her boyfriend wanted to get. Like, they're showing her using her powers in irresponsible ways, but at least they're showing her using her powers in ways that are more interesting than throwing people against walls and jumping really high.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
And we really should just go into your overall thoughts on the second season so far, since you weren't on the previous review.
Well, and it's like I said, it's just been a joy to watch. Like, everything has been working so well, and it doesn't feel as disjointed, I guess is the best way I can put it. I mean,
Yeah.
mind you, I didn't watch season 1 all the way through. I think my wife and I got up to the point of like the 6th or 7th episode, maybe a little bit further, but we got bored with it. And this has been the exact opposite. I've been enjoying it thoroughly because it's leaning into the noir traits that it has, and it's doing it well, and it understands that it's doing that, but it's not taking itself too seriously by doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I agree with that. And I think something that I'm also noticing is that, and this is something you brought up, the tone is far more even in this season, I think, which is something that I think is very good, because there was a problem with the first season of the show not really knowing what tone it wanted. We didn't go too deep into it in our first part, but the character I titled the incest twin. The problem with that character is that she's melodramatic, in like a soap opera way, like Days of Our Lives soap opera, which just threw me out of the show because nobody else was acting in that style. Kristen Ritter is acting very realistically. She's acting in a way that is is
believable
not,
for someone who finishes a handle of whiskey a day.
Yeah, she's not over exemplifying anything, or not she's not elevated in any way whatsoever. She's playing it very flat, and she's playing it very human. Malcolm is sort of, in that first season, he was sort of somewhere in between. He had his soapy moments and his, things like that. And then David Tennant is, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know what he was on, but it wasn't the same show.
He was over the top villainy because that's what he was doing for the first time in a long time. Like, he'd been playing the Doctor for so long that getting to play like this overly villainous character was probably a breath of fresh air to him.
His Doctor performance is very over the top.
It is, but he was still playing a good guy for all intents and purposes.
Yeah. But he's taking the Nicolas Cage.
Right. that was the problem. Is like he was inconsistent. The show didn't have a uniform voice. A big problem I had with Simpson is that he was inconsistent. He started out more on Kristen Ritter's level, and then he became this elevated figure, this elevated creature almost, in a way that didn't feel realistic to me. I didn't believe that he became that even with drugs, because I've had a broad enough life to know what it is like when somebody goes from not being on drugs to being on drugs. I know what that is like. I have that experience, and it felt false to me. So that's really like a big problem with the first season. Even Trish, her acting in this season is so much more uniform, and her character is so much more consistent. Everybody is more consistent. The mom's more consistent.
Everybody's just more interesting too. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy seeing Carrie Ann Moss in anything she's going to be in because I think she's a great actress. But this season so far, I have been flabbergasted by how good she's been. Like, she plays the Ice Queen so very well, and it's always a joy when she's on screen because she knows what she's supposed to be doing and she does it very well.
It was me, Jessica. It was me.
Yeah. God damn it. But yeah, like and even like in the moments where she has to play vulnerable, those moments work so well. They work so well because it's a character who always has armor on. That's just her character. That's who she is, and she embraces the fact that she is always living in armor. There's a scene, I don't know if it's in an episode in these 4 that we're supposed to be reviewing or if it's later, where she talks about how she only wears black.
That's in these 4. Yep.
Yeah, and that's a perfect description of who that character is. And she says the only time I ever went to a funeral, I wore red.
Yellow. It was actually yellow.
Yellow, which is just like that's who this character is to the T, and she just plays it so well. And it's not that she was bad in the first season. And again,
she just was underutilized.
Yeah. And we didn't go into it, but like, her girlfriend in the first season was a bad actress.
God, I didn't even remember her.
And the sex scenes between them felt like Skinamax, like softcore porn. They felt
obligatory.
Yeah, very much so. Like early seasons of Game of Thrones, almost.
And creepy.
Yeah, kind of. And it's like, okay, I thought we were over this thing where, because they're lesbians, they're just hot. It's just the hottest thing ever.
Nope.
They gotta be fucking 24/7.
It's not because they're lesbians, because there are scenes in this season with her making out with girls, and they don't feel they don't feel gross. They feel
No,
respectable in a way.
well, it's not even that. It's that they feel like it's something that she doesn't want to be doing. Not that she's doesn't want to be with women, but the times that she is with these women, like with the prostitutes, and she pulled the Red Foreman from RoboCop, bitches leave. Like you could tell the whole time she's like, this isn't who I am. Like
Right.
I'm just floundering, and this isn't who I want to be or what I'm supposed to be doing. But I don't know what else to do with myself at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's all of it has been handled so well. Like you were saying about Trish. Like Trish has also been a pleasure to have on screen too, instead of just being Jessica's friend who has things happen to her. Like she's
Right.
actively taking a part in the story this time instead of having the story happen around her.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. This whole season is, at this point of these episodes that we're talking about, it's already better for me than the entirety of the first season. These 8 episodes, they're so well paced and they're so well timed, and every episode ends in a way where all I want to do is watch the next episode.
Yep.
And it's not a thing of like, oh fuck you for ending that way. What? Now I have to watch the next one. It's like, oh shit, I need to see what happens next. Which is the kind of thing that I want in a show that's binging on Netflix.
Yep.
And I'll be honest. The day that I watched this, I should have been studying for school stuff, and I should have been focusing on that. And I just watched 11 of the 13 episodes in that day.
Jesus.
It was like I couldn't get up. I couldn't stop. And that's the thing. I've never had that before. I've never finished a Netflix season in the Netflix Hell's Kitchen Pocket First or whatever. I've never finished one in one day, ever. I finished first 2 seasons of Daredevil in a weekend. I finished Punisher in like a weekend and a half. I finished Iron Fist in like 5 days. I don't know how I did that,
sorry.
but I did.
I'm so sorry.
I finished Luke Cage over a weekend. I've never done it in one day before. Not once.
Why would you do that to yourself?
I don't know. I don't know.
I think Defenders was the only one that I finished super quick, and that's because
Yeah.
I was
So short.
I was needed to be on the show at that time. So
Yeah. And it's in the one where you could do that reasonably and not seem like a crazy person for doing it. So yeah, I think I finished that in like 2 days. No, I finished it over a weekend because I had work. That was the only reason I didn't finish it all in 2 days. Also, I went to like a painting thing. I had things going on that week. I had an actual life for that weekend, so that's why I didn't finish it all at once. So yeah, like but that just speaks to the quality of this season. It is so much more uniform, and it's just great. And I guess we should get into some specifics because, and we've done some, but there are things in this season and this is 4 that really just I don't even know how to say it. They're just really interesting things that happen in the plot of this season.
Can we talk about Malice for a second? And how his fucking door shirt is like the worst shit ever. Like,
I was just happy to see the actor again because last time we saw him, listeners, was Blade.
Oh,
Yeah.
You're right. He's in Blade 1, isn't he?
Yeah, he was also on Battlestar.
He's who is he in Blade 1?
He's the guy who Tracy Lords leads into the nightclub.
Oh
Yeah.
shit! The actor who plays Dr. Malice, which interesting name.
Oh God.
He's the guy in the Kangol hat. The white man wearing a Kangol hat in Blade 1.
yeah, he
I totally did not realize that.
Callum Rennie.
Holy crap.
But he's like he's one of those guys. He's one of those guys who's like, oh, it's that guy. He's one of those people. And he's been in a billion different TV shows, but I didn't realize that was the same guy, and that is the last time I think we did talk about him, because he hasn't been on the CW to my knowledge, or to my memory at least. But
he was, however, on Alphas,
oh,
which that was he got killed early on, but he was good in the brief appearance he had on the show.
We maybe Allan wants to pitch a From the Vault episode about that, perhaps. Who knows? But yeah, no, he's. So Hunter, what was it about his shirts exactly?
No, his shirt fucking bothered me because like he wore it. Like I swear to God, he never takes it off.
Yeah, he's wearing the same Doors shirt in every scene you see him in.
Well, it's an Einstein thing. He just has he bought 5 pairs of the same shirt, and he's
been wearing the same ones for 17 years.
Yeah, so you
just get that one.
Hey, people, once you get in the rhythm, you gotta keep going with that rhythm.
Yeah. Yeah, probably. You're right, because he was wearing it in the flashbacks, wasn't he? He was wearing.
Mm-hmm. He was.
He's wearing the same shirt.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird, yeah. Also, his wig is really bad. Like, if we want to do criticisms of the show, the wigs are really terrible sometimes.
Well, it's been a bad season for wigs on all the shows we watch. So.
Malice,
yeah, true.
Malice is like I like what they did with them, where they made him like this like hippie stoner kind of like scientist, because like the Mouse in the comics is like a typical mad scientist dude.
Yeah.
Also, I didn't realize he was actually based on a real character in the comics.
Of course they are. And I can't remember if it was in these episodes or in the previous 4, but they killed off my boy Dr. Kozlov, who did not get to turn into a dragon, unfortunately.
I was hoping. This universe really blue balls me on dragons.
It really does. It really, really does.
And once you get the dragon, you just get a fucking skeleton.
That's right.
Yep. Or just CG eyes that don't do anything or lead up to anything. Yeah, that's a good point. But Kozlov is dead, so that is out the window. And okay, should we talk about the reveal in these 4 episodes now, or should we save it a little bit and talk around it for a little bit? Because I
can talk around a little bit.
All right. So yeah, like, and this is something that we brought up the detectiveness of this. They really keep on the mystery angle of things, which I really like. They keep things close to the vest, and I think that we realize who the bad guy is in this season later than we have in any of the previous seasons.
Definitely.
Or who the true bad guy is supposed to be. Maybe I think Diamondback was in episode 6, and that's about when we get the reveal in this season, which seems like the appropriate time to wait. But yeah, like, and I love the way that the mystery builds, and I love the way that Jessica interacts with the cops also. That's something that I really enjoyed this season. Compared to last season, I don't know what it was. I'd have to go back and rewatch. But I always felt like the cops weren't reacting in a way that made sense in this world.
I really like Kozlov.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like the scene after they're letting her out. And she's like, "Oh, you're the one white hat in the sea of black hats, right?"
I wish Connor was here just so he could lose his mind over a mention of black hat.
God damn it. But yeah, God damn it.
I mean, we could still tell him,
right? But no, like I love that. He takes her and he's like, "Okay, I get it. You're making jokes and that's your thing." But he's like, "No, but there are others. But I remember what Kilgrave did to this office or whatever, and his story about wanting to kill himself after the previous season, that gives some real stakes to what happened then, and it gives it a sense that choices made by characters do matter, which is something that I really like. That's why I really enjoyed the fact that in the very first episode of the season, Jess brings up Matt. Like, it's there, and it's within the first 10 minutes. She doesn't say his name, but she brings him up. So the fact that, he brings up, I remember what Kilgrave did, and that's why I trust you, because I know what you did to him.
Well, on that note, too, there's also the mention of the raft later on in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think it's sometime in one of these 4 episodes that's mentioning the larger Marvel Cinematic Universe,
right.
Which is something I'm surprised they actually did.
Well, I mean, as I've said before, this is a pocket verse.
Yeah.
And everything about this fits the description.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a pocket verse.
Yeah, it does. It does suck, but it's like it's what it has to be because of
Because of
yeah.
I wanna
Don't
see
speak his name.
I want to see Frank Castle's reaction to Bucky kicking someone into a turbine. He's like, why did I think of that?
Speaking of Bucky, he just shoved a whole cupcake thing.
Yeah, Connor
down
sent
his...
a video, and he said, "quote If you don't mention this on the show, I quit. So I'm doing this just so he doesn't quit." He shoved a whole cupcake into his mouth and ate it.
Cool.
He almost choked, and then he's just like, "Whatever, I'm out."
Yeah. Thanks, Connor, for derailing the show.
If it wasn't him, it was going to be something else. But yeah, this I'm trying to think what else happened in just this episode. Oh, well, we find out how much of a junkie Trish is starting to become.
Right, and we get sort of hints of her past also.
Which was nice to have a deeper understanding of her character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's almost like we got origins for characters other than Jess, and we started to like them more. It's amazing how that happens.
It's amazing when you actually develop your characters, people will actually enjoy seeing them on screen.
Yeah.
Fucking Malcolm in this entire show.
Yeah.
Malcolm is so great in this show.
Is he like British or something?
No, but I wouldn't be surprised if he is.
Because listen to his accent, it's driving me nuts.
Yeah,
really?
It is weird because if he's I don't know if he's a New Yorker necessarily, because he, like, again, in a later episode, he goes to the college that he grew up in. I think he's, like, from Connecticut, because he goes to, like, Yale or Harvard to get those files, and he grew up around there, so, but I don't know, is there a Connecticut accent?
Yes, there is. I can't do it on a show right now, but yes, there is.
So does he sound even close to that?
He sounds like he might. He kind of sounds New England-y, kind of.
Okay.
He's got that kind of like. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like his A's sound weird to me and stuff like that. Like it's just weird. It's off-putting.
Oh, so it's kind of like listening to Benedict Cumberbatch do his New York accent. Yeah.
Interesting. Well, his name is Eka Darville, which is a very British sounding name, I will say.
True.
Oh, he was in Power Rangers RPM. Okay then.
Holy shit! What?
Oh, okay. So he is American and Australian.
Okay.
Oh.
So that might explain some things.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
So yeah, that might be part of it. Went to Byron Bay High School. Lives in Byron Bay, New South Wales. Okay.
Yeah, he's definitely.
There you go.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Actually, quite a bit of sense. Also explains why he is ripped as shit.
Jesus. Well, yeah, it's like Eric said in the prior episode. Like, this is totally male objectification this season, and I'm fine with that. It's just like every dude that shows up, with the exception of like the police officer,
right.
Or the dude in the jail cell.
Yeah. Like it's all just like, oh yeah, dude, you have like a 15-pack. Like, what the hell is going on?
Like Chang or whatever is way too.
It's way
hot.
on the nose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet Matt, the radar technician, is jealous of every single person in this cast.
Radar technician. Watch me on actor to actor.
God damn it. Damn it.
So, yeah, what's the next point we want to get to here?
Wait,
guess-
Arlen, can I just quiz Eric to see if he recognizes who, the super is?
The super,
Oh, you mean the actress? Who the
actor.
actress?
The actor? No, I mean, he looks familiar, but no, I'm not
Arrow
sure
season 3.
I've never seen it, so.
Yeah, Al, he hasn't seen much of the CW, remember?
Yeah.
Before the
Like
show.
this.
He hadn't seen
But-
much.
It's more importantly the character he played on Arrow. He played Wildcat.
Oh, yeah, okay. I heard you
Oh.
guys mention that in the last episode.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alan, I'm the only one who would know that.
Yeah, it's.
Okay, so I do have one thing that's interesting. So the end of episode 5, it ends with them at the aquarium, and the character who we formerly called the Meat Man.
Oh, you mean Deadpool Jr.?
Yes.
Freddy Krueger.
Yes. Toxic Avenger. Hey, it's Toxie.
Where's your mom?
But so they break open the aquarium, and then it like cuts with all the water spraying down, and then it cuts to Jessica running out of the aquarium. It's like, okay, so what happened in between in those 2 minutes that we didn't see?
Well, you don't even see the water. You see Jessica looking at the broken glass that starts to crack more. Then it goes to a black screen, and you hear the water running, and then it just jumps to the next episode.
Right, and you're like, and there are like people like right next to it, and you're like, oh, Jessica's gonna go help those people. Nope.
Nope.
Jeez.
Yeah. The next thing you see her doing is going to some mini mart, and then she comes out with a box of rice, and I'm like, why is she doing that? Oh, okay, I know why she's doing that. And
Yeah.
She throws her phone into it. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, she has an iPhone this season, which is interesting.
Pay for my apple.
No, there's.
Well, there was also.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
I was
There's
going to
also
say there's
mention
clear
of.
Windows. There's clear Windows sponsorship throughout all these shows.
Well,
Quite a
there's
bit.
also mention of Chick-fil-A pretty blatantly at one point
Mm-hmm.
during these 4 episodes. I forget which one it was. I want to say it was episodes 8 or 7. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, I was just. Even my wife was kind of like, really? That's kind of blatant product placement.
Interesting. Yeah, there's some weird stuff. They make sure that you know that she's drinking tin cup whiskey, which is interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's also a bunch of I think it's Knob Hill or Knob Creek whiskey appearances. Yeah, because you see the her bartender boyfriend from the flashback. He's specifically holding a bottle of it, and he has it turned just so you can see the label.
Yep. And it's that, and it's Wild Turkey also, which is just she has some very interesting whiskey tastes.
Yeah, bottom of the barrel, and
anyway, that's your whiskey corner for this Jessica Jones review. So episode 2 is kind of. So here's the thing: I have a very hard time remembering these since it's been a while, and I didn't get my typical chance to rewatch them. So how's about you guys? Remind me of what episode 6 was.
It
was
that's a thing.
Trish trying to find people. It was her, like after she, like it's focusing on her after she gets out.
Oh, okay.
And she's looking for people to beat up.
That's right.
Well, that's kind of everything she's been doing since she started getting high. It's also the one where they go to the country club.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. And she broke up with her boyfriend, like in between episodes, kind of.
Yeah, well, that was during because that was the end of episode 5, I believe it was the giant proposal. Like when he comes over to her and like gives her the ring and she just says thank you. Like my wife and I are both like, that's what you want to hear when you propose to someone is thank you.
Yeah. It's like, oh, that's not happening.
No. No, and she also slaps her mom then after her mom is railing on her about how this is the first good man and blah 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 blah.
Right. Yeah. I do love her reason also, which is that doesn't want to date him. She wants to become him. And here's the thing: this season does a lot of interesting things with Trish, where she's not just the nice friend. In contrast to Jessica, you kind of get the idea that Jessica is outwardly a dick, but Trish is also kind of a dick, but she's just secret about it. Which is,
well, she has money to cover it up,
right? And she sort of has this polite way of being around people, but in reality, her and Jessica are kind of a perfect pair in that way. They're kind of both terrible. Which I enjoy that, actually. I enjoy that it's two terrible people who are really good friends with each other. It's just that their terribles mesh really well together.
I don't know, though. I also feel like at least these couple episodes, like, you see a real turnaround in Jessica. Like,
yes, you do.
She's becoming less of a dick, and I mean, I'm sure they're playing it up because Trish is now a terrible addict, Nuke.
Right.
That she's becoming a horrible person. And I mean, I understand it's because she's supposed to be manic and always high on... Is it supposed to be Nuke? Isn't that what they said it was?
It's like Nuke 2.0 or whatever.
Okay.
Let's call it Nuke Dukem.
No, knocked out.
I came here to chew bubblegum.
I'm a dirty, dirty dog.
Shake it, baby.
But yeah, she's sort of on this inhaler version of Nuke, I guess. And
they don't call it Nuke. They just refer to it as the IGH drug.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's probably some version of Nuke. It's
although
Simpson says that it's not the same. It doesn't give him the anger problems. So yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. Because my understanding is that the drug that he was being given, it's a version of the cap serum, in that the cap serum amplifies the bad parts of you. So this is probably very different. So yeah, that's... This
is also the episode where Oscar and Jessica got down on each other, right? On the purple paint.
Yep. On the... Yeah. That was a good scene. Like, and that's another thing. That character, the character of the super. I've mentioned this in the previous episode. He's not just like this.
He's an everyday guy.
Yeah, he's not the unreachable dick. He's not the guy who's like, oh, I'm this character and I'm always this character. I don't change at all. Like, he's a character who grows and develops and who you understand as he goes on, and he makes reasonable choices.
Like he's multifaceted, almost like everybody is in this season, unlike the last season.
Yeah. He's like a human being almost.
Well, that was something I wasn't sure of. Was this season new writing staff, or was it the same writers?
It's the same writers, I guess. Although I
just like, fuck, what do we do?
Well, so it's interesting. I did watch an interview. I didn't see the full thing, but it was with Ritter and Taylor, I think. Taylor. And Rachel Taylor. And it was, and one of the things that Ritter said that was very interesting to me was she was cast in the first season when they had only written like the first 4 or 5 episodes.
Okay.
Which makes complete sense to me, because those are the strongest episodes of that first season. So those were already written by the time she started the show. That fits perfectly. Because honestly, if I watched just the first 6 episodes of Jessica Jones and you cut the incest twin stuff out completely, it's a good show. It's fine. It's more than good enough. It's not the super hyped up show that I was led to believe it was going in, but it's still a fairly decent show. And this one, they came in to shooting having the entire season written. It was all done. There was no slacking on it. Everything was ready when they started, which is an important thing. And part of why is they had that time when she was shooting the Defenders. So that sort of allowed them to get all their stuff done and be ready for it. And I kind of...
They, as I said in part one, they started writing a year and a half ago.
Yep.
And the election was happening, and that was a major key in what the tone of the season.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it does give me. We talked about the writing on these shows before, and my problems with it overall, from everything that we can piece together, with the very sparse details that we actually have about the behind-the-scenes process of working on these shows. And here's the thing, I wouldn't be surprised if Luke Cage is as much of an improvement as this show is, which means Luke Cage Season 2 is probably going to be fucking amazing. If it is,
I'm hoping.
If it is as much of a market improvement, because even though people don't like the second half of Luke Cage, I still found it enjoyable. It was still fine.
Yeah, it was like it's an okay show.
Yeah, it was all right. It was all right. I've seen worse, definitely. Iron Fist. I've definitely seen worse than that show. So if season 2 is as much of an improvement, it will probably be the next Marvel show until Daredevil season 3, which hopefully is just great.
Give it to me.
Yeah, and if again, like I get the feeling that in all of these shows, season 2 is when everybody has it all figured out. If there ever is a Defender season 2, I wouldn't be surprised if it's perfect. In a world where that does happen, of course. So yeah, like that'll be interesting. But the writing on the show just seems so much stronger, and knowing that they had it all worked out beforehand just tells me, it reaffirms things that I've always assumed, which is the more time that you have to write something and the more well figured out you have something before you have to actually do it, the better it's going to work out. When you're not scrambling to write things right before you have to start shooting them, it pays off.
Imagine that.
Yeah, imagine that. Scott Buck.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Hopefully, I think his name is Israel. I can't remember. I don't know why I think his name is Israel, but the current showrunner of Iron Fist, he has a lot of time to get things figured out and to put a show together that's not terrible. And I wouldn't be surprised if the next season of Iron Fist is like good. You know, I'm not going to say great, but good.
If it's better than Elektra, it'll be a step in the right direction.
Oh, damn.
I just want more Davos.
What?
In Iron Fist season 2, just give me more Davos.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. We're not gonna turn this into Iron Fist.
Show me
review.
a fucking dragon. How about that?
How's
It's fun.
or you just I don't know, kill Danny and make Colleen the star of the show. As I've said many times.
But then Roy Thomas won't get his royalties.
I don't care. I'm talking about the television show, and I want the television show to be good. I'd be interested to see how these shows are going forward. Especially knowing that this show is so universally loved now. Okay, where are we? I think we're on episode 6 still, right? A lot of stuff happens in episode 6. A lot. Trish kicks that man out of a bus, which was very rude. Very, very rude thing to do.
I mean, yeah.
There's the stuff with Inez and Hogarth.
That stuff is interesting. And Inez, knowing what I know about later on in the season, that stuff is it's very interesting to watch how things are playing out, and to judge Inez's actions, knowing what I know. That's all I'll say on that matter.
Well, something before we delve too deep into the weeds again. It hasn't been addressed since we saw it, and I don't know if it ever will be, but there was a point in the prior 4 episodes where Trish's now ex-boyfriend, fiance, whatever, he had put a USB device of some sort into her computer.
Oh.
Where was that leading? Because we haven't seen anything since that. Like,
wow.
I'm sorry to trail us off into a different direction.
No, that's a good point. Now that you say that, I don't think that led to anything.
Yeah, I don't think it did either, and I wanted to make sure I didn't miss something.
He was just downloading all the porn. It's okay.
Maybe. I mean, dude's got a,
He's got a date.
I mean, unless he was downloading the information to steal the story from her, I don't know. Like, it
maybe.
just they made it seem very sinister, and then I haven't seen anything since that happened.
I think so. Here's the thing. That doesn't come up again in the later episodes. It doesn't come up in this season, which makes me think it's setting up something for season 3. Which, if the rate of these shows in terms of production says anything, that will be a very long time from now.
Yeah, and no one will remember.
Yeah, that I mean, and they don't even do like a previously on on Jessica Jones at all. They do like that's wrong. They do like a little preview thing before you start the season now. This season had one. But the rest of the shows haven't, and I'm interested to see if maybe they'll make that something you have to watch at the beginning of next season, because I'm not going to remember it. I guarantee we'll do the review of this 3rd season that will come out sometime in the future, and I'll have no clue what anybody's talking about if they bring this up. So yeah, that's
yeah. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going crazy, and that maybe they do pay that off later. But it seemed like such an odd thing to, not even odd. It just seemed like such a big thing to show, like, because it was a very prominent part of that episode, at least that particular scene. And now to hear that nothing comes of it, I'm just wondering what got cut out that they didn't end up using it.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I'm gonna be thinking about that for a while now. But yeah, so we have the scene that we were talking about earlier with Eka Darville going to his old college, having that scene with a former girlfriend and fiance.
Well, I mean, Eka Darvo kind of looks like the Weeknd's like kid brother, so whatever. If you want to start using that, so
yeah, I mean that's pretty good actually.
It's either that or Basquiat, one or the other.
Damn.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The scene with the girlfriend, fiance is pretty good, I guess. And I kind of like that Jessica is rubbing off on him a little bit, and he's sort of becoming good at this. But again, knowing what I know later on in the season, I'm interested in seeing how that plays out in season 3 and in other shows where Jessica shows up. Because, as I said during our news stuff from last episode, or from the AD that we did, I really want to see her interactions with other characters, even if there's not going to be another crossover. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. And if Eka Darville being part of I can't remember the name of the company, but this other sort of investigative group, if that plays into the other seasons also. Because that's an interesting thing of this.
Are you talking about Cheng?
Yeah, Cheng and something incorporated, or risk management, or risk assessment.
Yeah, I can't remember exactly.
But yeah, I'm interested to see how that plays out. Or if it does play out at all. Because that's an interesting thing to have hanging there, of this sort of group that does private investigations, and they really don't do it respectably.
No, they have no scruples.
Mm-hmm. And I'm interested to see if that comes back at all. Yeah.
Now, I'm trying to remember. This isn't the episode. No, this is the one that has the big reveal at the end, because the next episode is the flashback one.
Yes, because she does make it to... Yes, episode 6 is... She makes it to the house.
Yeah.
And we get this callback to the boyfriend and the wine that she drank when she was a little girl.
Oh yeah, because she goes to Oscar's place, and he offers her a drink, and it's the wine that she drank half a bottle of when she was a kid.
Yeah. There are only two scenes I want to really touch on before that. One is a scene that, Eric, I assume you will recognize, because I recognized it, which is the scene where she confronts a former fundee of IGH on a golf course. And anybody who's read Alias knows that this is kind of exactly a scene from the comics. It's different context. In that scene, she's confronting someone who's trying to blackmail Steve Rogers.
I think so. Yeah.
So it's very different context, but the scene is virtually the same. And I don't know if she's quoting any dialogue, but
it's been quite a while since I read Alias, so I can't say for sure.
And I read it like a year ago, so it's still a little fuzzy to me, but it was visually similar enough for me to recognize. But that really made me happy for some reason, because they really don't mention the book directly that much.
Well, that's the thing. Like with her character in the comic, like, as hard as it might be for some people to believe who've never read the comic, like, she's actually worse in the comic in some ways.
Yeah, she's more cynical, definitely.
And does not care about what she does while drinking, which means also sleeping with anyone who will, which they try and get across in the show, but it's not quite as, I don't know, I can't even think of the word. Like, she's not quite as blatant, I guess, in the show as she is in the comic, because anything with a pulse, she'll basically sleep with in the comics.
And it is important to point out that the show, if you kind of read the books, at least the Alias series, and if you remove the Luke Cage stuff, it's kind of a prequel to the TV show. Because it's takes place right after the stuff with her and Kilgrave, and it sort of leads up to that. If you read the first 3 volumes, it's kind of a prequel, again, with the exception of the Luke Cage stuff. There was a compression of time there, which I actually think is a good artistic choice. But they really don't really reference any storylines from the book usually. Even in the first season, I don't remember anything that's like directly taken from the books.
Well, I mean, thinking about the books, everything either involves mutants or big name characters that they can't really use.
Like, they changed, is it Miss Marvel at the time? Mm-hmm. Yeah, they changed Miss Marvel to Hellcat, which was a good choice. It's a good...
Oh, totally was.
Great choice. Actually, I think Hellcat works better, and also they can't use that character.
Exactly. Well, that, and they would have to go even further back and explain how she would know a lot of these superheroes, which just wouldn't work for the TV show, because that would mean that she would have had to have kind of been involved with the Avengers in some ways, and that just wasn't going to happen. Yeah,
they really did double down on her, Danny, Luke, and Matt being a thing, but they kind of just cut everything else away. Anyways, I really like that scene, and I like that it's like a specific scene taken from the books, and it's used very well for the context of the show. And the other important thing is Trish and Malcolm. They
hook up.
Yo.
Yeah, I was not expecting that.
I didn't expect it either, but when it happened, I was like, okay, all right. That makes sense.
It worked in context of everything that was going on, but it was still kind of like, what do you guys do? Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with this.
And I like that Malcolm is self-aware enough later on to be like, you're bad for me.
Yeah. Well, that, and just the fact that, like, Trish, at least I would imagine, even if she doesn't know Malcolm that well, would know some of his story via Jessica. So she would have to know that he can spot a junkie a mile away. And that's why she's continuing with these, like, childish, like, no, I'm not. No,
Yeah.
I'm fine. No, I'm good. I'm good. No, you're the one who's high. I'm not high. You're high. You're a bad idea.
Oh,
You're the one on
of this,
drugs. I'm not.
Yeah.
I just remembered a funny thing from from the first 4 episodes.
Sure.
It's when Jessica and Malcolm have that scene, the elevator scene where she agrees to like start teaching him stuff and giving him like a cut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The 20% scene.
He goes back to the whoever his Tinder date or woman he's with is. He's like, oh, sorry, so and so, and she's like, that's not my name, and he goes, oh, I mean this, and oh no, I mean that.
Yeah, that actually brings us to a pretty good point. Which is I kind of love the whole thing of Malcolm being a sex addict. Which
loves it.
Which didn't when it first came up, I was like, well, why is that there? Why is he on Tinder all the time? But then once the season sort of unveiled itself, it's like, oh, he's a sex addict because it's this thing that happens with addicts is that like you may stop being into crack or meth or whatever your poison is, but you'll usually find something to replace it.
Fill that hole. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, like
Literally with Malcolm. Wow.
Right. God damn it. God damn it.
I want a place.
But like that. But it goes for everything. You know, you have people who quit smoking and then they gain like 30 pounds, and things like that. And that's a real world detail that's very vital and it adds to the show in a good way. So yeah, I really like that. I like that they deal with things like addiction and depression in a fairly they don't play it up. They don't.
Yeah, it's not stereotypical TV way of handling it. Like they handle it in a more realistic way than you see in most TV shows, and they handle it better than a Marvel superhero show has any right to.
Yeah, definitely. I do want to go back real quick before we get to the reveal to again the Meat Man, Toxic Avenger. Or as we should call her, Meat Woman, I guess.
Female Deadpool.
Female Deadpool. Yeah, there's this scene...
Or no. Comics accurate female Deadpool. Considering how Deadpool was.
Yeah. But there's this scene where this woman comes to her door after she's been playing piano on a Surface tablet. But she's been playing piano and this song, and she comes to like, you know, I couldn't. He's a monster. I couldn't get him to stop crying until we heard your song, and then I love the tension in that scene. I love every moment of it. I love them coming in and sitting down, and her.
That was. Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
I love her. I love everything about that scene. I love how like. The woman isn't great, but like the slow tension of like you're in a house with a woman who could easily like rip you in half, and she's just continually fucking up playing the notes.
Mm-hmm. That lady is the stupidest lady ever in any TV show ever.
Possibly.
All right, that was going to be my question because when my wife and I were watching it, like I looked over to her and I'm like, so wait a minute, she knocks on the door and has to reintroduce herself, and now all of a sudden she's in this woman's house with her baby. Mm-hmm. Like what? I would never go over to a neighbor's house that I don't know with a child that's screaming and be like, "Hey, can I hang out in your house?" No, we met once like 4 years ago. It's cool. Don't worry about it. Just let me in. Like it. And I mean,
hey,
I get it.
Want to play Smash Brothers?
Her being,
gotta get that smash.
Her, the meat woman being very. Her allowing her in because of the kid, that made sense to me, but you're right. Her going over to the house was like... Maybe... Here's the thing. If she had been on the porch playing the piano, I think that'd be different. or if she had just been playing a guitar. Like if I was walking by a neighbor's house and they were playing a fiddle or a guitar or a flute.
I want to listen to Charlie Daniels now.
No, actually, never mind.
I didn't realize you were in Texarkana.
No, I'm not. I just realized I said fiddle. I would never go on the doorstep of somebody playing a fiddle. Never. Not once. I take
Their
that
little
back.
spittoon in the corner. Just, how you doing?
But no, like, if somebody was playing a guitar and they looked reasonably normal, and they just didn't seem like bad people, I don't know, I'd ask if I could enter the yard and talk to them a little bit, maybe, but I'm not an outgoing person, so they'd have to be playing something really interesting for me to do that.
Yeah.
I could see
well, and you
that.
certainly wouldn't be carrying a screaming child over. Like that was the thing I think that bothered me the most. It's just like, listen, not everybody likes babies. And for you to decide that you want to burden somebody that you don't know with a child that they might or might not enjoy being around, who's screaming their head off, I know we're nitpicking, but it seemed like a very strange choice. And I understand why they did what they did when you get to the end of this episode, but it's still just like, okay.
Yeah. No, it's a scene that's made because it's very tense. Like, that's why they did it. It's one of those things where the intention of that scene was more important to them than the overall logic of it, which is something that they tended to do a lot in the first season, even when it didn't work. But I think it kind of does this time around. But I see everything you mean. Like, she shouldn't have been playing a piano. Because again, if you hear a piano, you're moving out of the neighborhood. If you can just hear a random piano. And
you're entirely too close to the person's house
right.
to hear a piano.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And also, like, why would you go... And that's another thing. It's this person's back porch. There's a difference in the level of intimacy between a back porch and a front porch that most human beings can recognize. And this neighbor didn't recognize that there is a difference there, even with her open fence setup. There's a clear difference between those two things that was not respected. So I do see that point, that way of looking at it. But I don't know. You've sold me on not liking the scene now, so I don't know where to go with this.
Well, no, I mean it. Like I said, it makes sense in context to what the bigger reveal of this episode is. Yes,
it does.
And you also get to see her absolutely destroy a piano, just showing that she can't handle her rage. Yeah. What was that?
With her bare hands.
And
exactly.
Yeah, and this is when I knew the reveal was coming. I just didn't. I just wasn't sure until the end of episode 6. Which, I mean, this is a good time to talk about this. So the main antagonist of this season, the aggressor, as it were, is it's Jessica's mom. Who we learn survived the car crash from season 1.
Which I'll admit I did not see anything along those lines coming.
Yeah, I didn't see anything like that coming at all, and it makes sense because we heard nothing about who the villain was coming into this.
Also,
I didn't.
Insane.
Yeah.
Kinda.
Yeah, she has like super amped up anger problems. Which is an interesting thing to explore, because it sort of goes to this thing of, so the villains that Melissa Rosenberg is interested in is characters who despite their best efforts can't help but being a problem. That's her deal. That's what she's interested in when it comes to villains, clearly. And
even on a micro scale, though, it's also showing like that this is where Jessica inherited it from.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
Jessica has all of her rage issues, which she has much more in control than her mother. But it's just, yeah, this is what Jessica would be if she didn't control her anger. And, you know, she's just a smaller version or a lesser version of this monster that her mother became.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. She's a nice reflection of Jessica, while being just a completely different character overall.
Yep.
But again, like, she's just like, even though you get scenes where you learn that she doesn't want to be this way. She really does not want to be in the position that she's in, and she doesn't want to hurt people, but she can't help it. Which is, again, that's like, and that's the one thing I did like about the Purple Man, is that he recognized that he was a bad guy, but you did get the sense that maybe he wanted to change. He just didn't understand how. He couldn't comprehend the ways to become a better person, which is something that I really like. Like, they're kind of these just like broken creatures almost. But
well, yeah,
they're
not really. They're not really. I wouldn't say they're not villains by choice, but they recognize the inherent evil that they are doing or possess, and they want to change, but they aren't strong enough to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's a very strong choice for these shows, and it makes them interesting and compelling, dramatic characters.
Yeah.
So yeah, what follows is a flashback episode, which goes a long way. The flashback episode, and I think it's one of the better flashback episodes that they've ever done. On any of these shows. It's definitely one of the more important ones. It really goes a long way to showing how Jessica became who she is.
Shows that Trish doesn't have any real talents at all. She has zero talents, like none whatsoever. She can't sing. She's a bad radio host. Like,
I want to cray.
Oh God!
So
it was painful.
That song was painful, but then things that happen later on make it.
With Sterling?
No, things that happen in like episode 11 or 12 with that song. It goes all the way around to being hilarious.
Okay.
So yeah, that song is. I love it though. I love how it. Like, it's very obviously Britney Spears. This entire thing is Britney Spears. And I love it. I love it because they nail it so well. Like, my brain was starting to store things well and like put pieces together right when Britney Spears was having her big breakdown. So this was just like the most relevant reference you could ever make for me.
Yeah, that's a really good point.
So yeah, like that was very interesting. And just
all of it. Something I noticed in this episode whenever Jessica was talking, like, you know, they did a good job of making Kristen Ritter look easily, like, I don't want to say 17 years younger, but she definitely looked much younger than she does during present time, quote unquote. But did they do something with her voice, or was that her doing it?
No, I think that was all performance. That was all because
she sounded decidedly younger too, which I was really kind of pleasantly surprised by.
No, I think that. So this is one of those moments where we have to give Kristen Ritter a lot of credit, because if you see her in interviews, she's not Jessica at all. She's not even the same person in real life. She's like a complete 180. She's ridiculously funny. Just natural sense of humor and class, and, you know, just instantly friends with anybody she's in the room with. At least that's her on-camera personality. When she's not playing a role, at least. So she comes off as very amiable. And this was just sort of like her loosening the gas on the character of Jessica in a way. And it instantly makes her, like you said, like almost 10, 17 years younger seeming. Because she just, like, she lightened the voice. She acted less like somebody who's been drinking 24/7 for the last couple years. And also, like, everything about the way that she holds herself.
Mm-hmm.
Jess in the current show, she's slumped down quite a bit, and she's just got this look of, like,
yeah,
just about everything. And this Jess is just, like, yeah, she has her moments of, like, wow, I don't want to be here, but there's just a general lightness to her at a younger age. And this episode really explores that. There was a flashback episode before, but that one was mostly about them as, like, young kids. And this one, I think we really get a sense of who she was in her teens and early 20s.
Yeah, and why she's the person she is now.
Yeah, and they do a good job of explaining that. Like, just a really good job of giving you all the pieces of, like, oh, this is why this is that person. This makes complete and total sense.
This is why she chose Alias as the name of her investigation.
That was so good.
The company.
That was really good. I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Well, that and just seeing, understanding now that Trish has a history, because I mean they mentioned it once or twice, I believe, in this season that she'd been through rehab, or at least her mother had used it as ammunition against her. But you see that she had a pretty serious problem where people were just feeding her cocaine or whatever drug, because they never say specifically what it was. But yeah, I thought it was great that it's like I keep saying, like, they're giving all of these characters context and, like, making them multi-dimensional, and it pays off in spades every time.
Yeah, totally. It's something that even Daredevil season 1 didn't do a very good job of.
No.
Like, Foggy is one of the worst supporting characters ever.
Wow.
In the first season of Daredevil.
Dude, I'm right here.
In the first season of Daredevil. Second season, he's light years better.
Yeah.
Just automatically. But this season, they nail it with everybody. All of the supporting characters worth mentioning are just infinitely better than they were in previous seasons. And Trish really gets filled out as a character, and I love the little moments of, like, where this woman who's clearly just sort of a user and sort of her fake, part of her entourage, is basically selling her for drugs. And it's just like, it's a very dark scene, and
kind of fucked.
Yeah.
Well, it's rather appropriate you said filled out then before you mentioned that.
Stop this.
I think Arlen's dead.
We killed Arlen.
Not dead, but dying, probably.
Just disappointed.
But yeah, no, God damn it. Yeah, no, that's... God damn you, Eric. You're fired. You're fired.
You can't kill me. I'll only come back stronger.
Oh yeah, Connor's not here to stop this. Leadline DVDs!
No.
You cannot stop us.
Who's that little noodle boy trying to stop us?
God damn it.
His name is Mikey, and he likes it.
His name is Phil. Yeah. So that's a flashback episode. I really like Jessica's boyfriend in the flashback episode.
Yeah.
Like, a
yeah,
lot.
Shocked how much I liked him. I was expecting him to totally just be a plot device, but he essentially was, but he was a well done one, like one that I was actually really disappointed to see what happened to him.
Yeah, and like even up until the moment where he's like surrounded by those guys who he owes money to. Up until that moment where he's like, yeah, sure, but any money I get a cut of. Even right up into that moment, I was like, I really like this guy. He seems like a genuinely good guy. And your instinct in this show is to assume that things are going to turn bad at some point, and that this person's going to be revealed to be a creep or an asshole. And he's not. He seems like just a genuinely good guy. He might have his quibbles, his character deficiencies, but
it seems like Jessica isn't perfect either. So it's like kind of works out.
Yeah, I mean, there are two people that gloat about stealing things, so they're not completely great people. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah, it's, I don't know, just everything about this episode, just, it works so well because, I mean, you had the specter of her mother hanging over her without her knowing it the whole time. Like, and what, her mother is the exact cause for kind of why Jessica went down a not terrible path, but she definitely headed down a darker path because of the actions of her mother's inability to control her rage.
Yeah, definitely. The collision course between the two of them is her own actions, her own faults, as it were.
Yep.
And yeah, like, and also like I love little details. Like one of the whiskeys that Jess drinks is Knob Creek, and the first drink that her boyfriend pours her is Knob Creek. Like just like little details like that are really. Yeah, like, again, that's something I love, is attention to detail and attention to who these characters are. That's the kind of thing that really just, it sticks with me, and there's a lot of that in this episode. Lots of little wings, and like you mentioned, Alias, her naming it after his club is such, it lends importance to this character that we're never gonna see again, probably. But he just works so well on screen.
Well, it gives a bittersweet feel to it, and it shows that Jessica isn't quite as tough as she'd like to, or at least as hardened as she'd like to give the appearance of at all times. Like, and nobody's really going to know that because I'm sure she would never tell anybody that unless they were really close to her. But yeah, it's just, you're getting these little bits of character moment that you need to actually care about these characters. And I feel like it's something that, as much as I enjoyed Daredevil, it was kind of lacking at times.
Yeah, like as I said, using Foggy as an example, you get bits and pieces of him, but other than the fact that she really wants to have sex with that girl Marcy, like
really, really badly.
Like it was like a major plot point for him in season 1, but in reality they just wanted to have a relationship. But either way, like his character hasn't been filled out nearly as much as Trish is at all by this point, and it kind of sucks. And I'm someone who genuinely wants to like Foggy most of the time. It's just that he annoyed me a lot towards the end of season 1. And he annoyed me in season 2, but for legitimate reasons. For it's like, okay, I see your side. I still don't like the way you're going about it. Yeah, like, fuck you, Matt's the Daredevil. Just fucking get over it. fucking get over it. He wears a fucking devil suit and he fucking runs around beating up people up. Just get over it, you piece of shit. This is what he does. But yeah, that was, I like how much character development we get. I like that Jess was like, she was a good college student, at one point. Like, she was really trying to, have a normal-ish life. Yeah,
I mean, it seems like once things started to go well, quote unquote, for Trish, that's kind of when she decided to be the yin to her yang and was just like, well, fine, if everything's going great for her and she's going to be a shit to me, then let's go down this path. And she just, yeah, exactly. Let's see. I'm early 20s and I have super strength and I'm super fast to heal. I can do anything I want to do because my brain hasn't fully developed yet, so I can just be a terrible shit. Like, let's break open this ATM, let's steal jackets and cars, and let's go get a pony. Like it works so well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good times.
Yeah.
Good show.
Yeah.
Good show.
Yeah, it's really good, you know. And like again, when those guys come up to beat up her boyfriend, and she just like wipes the floor with him, like that's a really good scene.
I don't understand how she didn't choke that guy to death with orange chicken, but whatever.
Yeah, that's God damn it. Imagine if somebody did that to you. You'd never be able to eat orange chicken again, probably.
No, you'd probably never be able to eat faux Chinese food ever again.
You wouldn't pass by a Chinese restaurant and not flinch.
Like, yeah, most likely. God damn it. Yeah, that was a really good scene. We get the scene of Inez getting ripped to shreds, as she said, and that nurse who's she's a jerk. She's a real jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not gonna say she deserved it, but
that's the second person that's had their neck twisted completely backwards in this season. So they're going for a theme so far.
Well, I do like also that every villain does kind of have a signature kill. Purple Man's thing was making you shoot yourself, kind of. Which, okay, I guess that's a choice, but hers is twisting your head all the way around.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh, well, at least you know they're dead. I mean, there's no question there, I guess, so...
I guess, unless you're the Joker from Dark Knight, but that's a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Frank.
But yeah, it's like we've said when we talk about CW stuff. Like when something is good, it's really hard to talk about a lot of it because this flashback show, I think, honestly, has been the strongest episode of the entire season so far.
Yeah.
I haven't seen all of it yet, but so far this has been the one that made me sit up and really take notice the most.
Yeah, I agree. Like her going into the bathroom after Jessica, the mom, and that scene is great. It's so great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just everything about it, she says, we should hang out or something like that. She's like, yeah, I'd like that. Like, it's such a good moment.
Yeah.
Such a really good moment. And this is the kind of thing that they do in comics all the time. Like, they give you this secret origin backstory where you realize that these two characters met years before, and that they're more intertwined than you think. And it just really worked in this episode. They did it really well. And again, like, there wasn't a bad actor in the joint, which is something that I really appreciated. Even the guy who should have died from the orange chicken, he wasn't too terrible of an actor.
No. It's nobody did a bad job. Like that's the thing I'm noticing more and more too with this season in particular, is that there's no one that stuck out particularly to me that's been like, oh, that was tolerable, if not worse. So yeah, but yeah, back to the flashback. Like, this was also interesting, just getting to see everything that Jessica's mom was going through.
Yep.
as she was, I guess, coming to terms with what she's become and trying to gain back a semblance of her normal life.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, all that stuff is interesting. I don't know what else there is to talk about on the flashback episode. Have we covered just about everything? Other than maybe her going and meeting Trish's mom, which is an interesting scene. But it's not that important.
I called the cops on her.
Yeah, I would have. I would have put her in an asylum years ago.
She's very just like unnerving.
Mm-hmm.
Which I guess is why they picked her. But like, wow.
Yeah, and I'm like, I have no questions about why I haven't seen her in other things, because she has a very particular character type. So yeah, we do get the origin of the man who projects movies for free, I guess, which is interesting.
We got his origin story.
Yeah.
He's by a radioactive movie projector.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to be the bad guy in Civil War 3,
God
so look
damn
out
it.
for that.
I can't wait. Yeah, like we
I'm
get...
the projector.
God damn it. We get Jess agreeing to help Trish get clean. Yeah, this is a really good episode as far as origin story episodes go.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's a good episode, I guess.
Yeah.
And like you said,
Oh.
it's hard to talk about good ones. Really.
Well,
hard.
and just one thing real quick that I just remembered too is that like the jacket that, mind you, her boyfriend said I wanted to get you something, but she got it for herself. But yeah, I mean that's basically the same jacket she's still wearing, and it might actually still be the same jacket because leather jackets like that tend to live forever.
Yeah, it probably is, which is, I like that a lot. Like I like that. That's if she has an outfit, if she has a costume, it's that.
Mm-hmm.
It's equivalent to a cape for her. And
it's also a mourning shroud in a way. It's she can't let go of that part of her life.
Yeah. It's become like it's part of her uniform, and it's part of who she is. And I do like that she has actively chosen not to abandon pieces of this person. And it's very interesting. It says a lot about Jessica. And like you brought up, she's not this cut and dry, cynical person that we assume that she is. She's clearly something more. It's an interesting thing. Okay, I think we can talk about episode 8. Which is one that I remember less well. So that's a thing.
This one
gets captured.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a lot of her in the room with her mom. That's right. That's basically the whole thing, really.
Well, and it's also the sub story of Trish kind of going nuts because she can't find where Jess is, and Malcolm actually going out and
when Malcolm calls her out too.
Yeah, and he's actually shows that he's a good detective because he's still working on that case for Carrie Ann Moss's character. I can't remember her name. Because like when he went to that gay bar and told that guy basically like, hey, don't do this. Like, tell your family what's going on. It's modern times. Things are different. Blah blah. It wasn't until I saw a full shot of that guy's face that I'm like, oh yeah, he's one of the partners. I forgot about that subplot that they were looking for dirt on them.
Yeah. That stuff is really good. I like him on his own trying to figure things out. And I just really like Malcolm in this season.
Malcolm's great.
He's one of my favorite parts of last season, but he's really good this season.
Well, and with Malcolm, go ahead, Alan.
Doesn't mean it's working. Like the show is working when I'm like, God damn it, Trish! Don't do that to Malcolm. He's recovering.
Yeah. That's that. Yeah, that is the show doing what it's supposed to do. Definitely.
That was going to be my point. Is like these 4 episodes in particular are the quick ascending of Malcolm's happiness and then falling back into the depths of despair.
Malcolm is the true hero of this show.
But just him, like after he takes the shot of the not and he's just like, oh god, oh no, oh no, and just starts running.
Instantly, he's like, no. It's really good. That's a good point. I really like that. I do like the thing with the healer character. He's very interesting. Yeah. He's
well. I mean, when they showed him doing the faith healing, well, whatever his healing powers, like I was expecting him to be like a faith healer and pull like a chicken liver out of her or something like that.
That would be interesting. And this is where the Chick-fil-A thing comes from that you were talking about earlier.
Yes.
I remember now.
Yes.
God damn it. Because
that was very blatant.
Yeah. That's That was pretty good. Yeah, like that stuff with him and Hogarth. And again, like I love that we keep on coming back to Hogarth. Like she's not this plot line that we abandon and then we come back to occasionally and we kind of explore it, but we don't do the best job of it. No, like they're constantly reusing her, bringing her back, showing what's going on with her, and giving you sort of a window into how she's feeling, even if she's not saying anything.
Yep.
Which I think is really effective. And I like where her story is going this season because it's just so much more compelling than in previous seasons. I thought.
Definitely.
So yeah.
Yeah.
And then Jessica, after being locked in the room, they go on the run.
Yeah. And they fill the detective up with so many sedatives that I don't understand how he's not dead.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. So Chang does the whole sniper bit at the end of this. Yeah. So yeah, a lot. So here's the thing. This is very much like last CW review we did when we talked about Black Lightning and how that episode was a lot of moving the plot forward, but not a lot actually happening. This is a very similar episode to that one. There's not a lot that actually happens, but things are definitely moving in a direction. So it's a very hard episode to really talk about it and like point out anything particularly interesting.
Well, it does show Jessica and her mom working somewhat well together when they're trying to find Oscar's kid.
Yeah, that was good. I did like that bit.
Yeah.
Or is that episode 9 where his kid goes?
Yeah,
that is episode 9. Yeah.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that. Jessica's mom is trying to show her that she can change and try to be the person that she was.
Yeah, I like that too. I do like when Jessica thinks that her mom has just run off, and she just panics hardcore. Like it's like if you like misplaced your baby or something, and that's a very good scene. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, I don't know. It's a very difficult episode to talk about. Really, there's more stuff with Trish, kind of.
Well, it's just her being a maniac right now because she's coming down. Like, and don't get me wrong, it's not that I don't enjoy like this aspect of her character arc, but it's very much like she's fighting a very different battle than anybody else is right now.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm just remembering this now. We do get Hogarth and Inez, which is again like it doesn't feel seedy, exploitive. That Hogarth and Inez are getting down. It feels like kind of natural and like, okay, that's a real human relationship, and I believe under the circumstances that we've been presented, that these two would find interest in each other. So yeah, I like how that sort of plays out.
When she starts licking her scars, you realize that maybe they do have something in common.
Yeah. I dug that. And there's the scene where they're talking about how Jessica blames herself for her parents' death. That stuff is really strong. That stuff is really very, very strong. I really enjoyed that and how her mom's like, you're not the one who did this. Have you been thinking that you're the reason that we were dead for this whole time? Is this why you are the way you are? And I like that. I like that her mom is her mom for a second. And I love when Jessica's like, I don't look at you and I don't see my mom, but I hear you, and I hear her, and like stuff like that is just really powerful. I thought.
Oh, wasn't this the episode that it also opened with Jessica's mother making eggs?
Yes, and it's comedic the way that she acts. Yeah.
Oh,
That's great actress. What a great actress.
This was also the episode that they mentioned the raft.
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, like sometimes we mention things that happen in the larger MCU. Sometimes we don't give a fuck.
Exactly.
Yeah. And here's the thing: saying that there's that the raft exists. That's the kind of thing where it's like, yeah, I would bring that in. Like, if I have the option at this point to sort of pick and choose what parts of the MCU I'm going to use and not use, the raft is one of those things where it's like, that's a good thing. It's a good choice of the things.
Yeah, it totally makes sense in the context of what they're doing.
Yeah.
And I mean, even in a way, I feel like it would kind of be like a boogeyman story among the people that might have powers. Is like, oh, well, I better keep this under wraps or I'll end up on the raft.
Yeah, and let's be realistic. Future seasons of Luke Cage are going to have a lot of, like, people who, like, turn into, like, monsters and shit. And, like, and people who are pretty... I'm not going to say they're movie-level villains. They'd be, like... Betrock the Leaper type characters.
Oh, yeah.
In future movies. And you're going to need a place to put those kinds of people.
Yeah.
You know, or a Crossbones type.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm glad that they sort of kept that. And it gives them just a place to send these people, other than New York Penitentiary, I guess, or wherever they've been sending people. Or
yeah. Well, I mean, most of the time they end up dead, so, or they're so far outside the range of anything that would be considered, I guess, human prisons, like with Lady Gao and all of them. Like, you kind of have to kill these characters off. You can't really have them existing within a prison system.
Yeah, certainly. Okay, I have nothing else to say on episode 8.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a good place to cut off, unless we want to go to episode 9. I really don't.
I actually didn't watch episode 9, so.
Okay, so then we won't.
There we go.
Yes.
There we go.
All right. I mean, I haven't checked the news today, so there's no news to talk about.
Nothing I know of.
So this has been the episodes 5 through 8 review of Jessica Jones. I don't know how much of a review it was. We're not good at reviewing. It's really just our favorite parts.
Just talk about it.
It's mainly a discussion.
But yeah, it's like, this is
a discussion among friends.
Yeah,
yes,
works.
yes. It was mostly me and Eric, but but I'm not gonna hold that against you. Yes, I am. But yeah, so this is our discussion, our review, as it were, of Jessica Jones 5 through 8. If you liked it, great. Don't tell us about it. We don't care.
Don't add us.
Yeah, fuck you.
But no, in seriousness, if you agreed with something that we said, I actually would like to hear about that. I'd like to hear about from anybody who's like, that was a really good point. And if you think that there's something that we seriously missed, please tell us. Because I've been told that engaging with the audience and asking for for conversation makes the show more popular. So yeah, if anybody has any thoughts on the episode, I'm glad to hear it. Except Andrew Littler, we don't care about what you have to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I specifically don't. So yeah, don't at me about season 2. Don't at me about how the characters. How about how there were no characters in season 1 who didn't make sense and who were shitty. Fuck you. Fuck you.
Are you talking about that one guy? who will go nameless?
No, there were a lot of people in the group who I won't name who really pissed me off.
Damn.
But I'm good at hiding my true feelings. Until now. Because I spit hot fire.
What's that, Dylon?
Yeah, that's right.
Dylan.
All right. So yeah, this has been whatever. We're done. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
You know our plugs. Don't add us about it. Bye.
Don't add me on shit. Fuck you.
Bye.